Good evening. It is Fabrizio Aiello. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to be working on some sketch cards and talking out loud about Baltimore Comicon, which was pretty cool. It was very eventful, my first con. Before I do that, just a reminder, Horace H. Hoover number 1 and 2 are available at alternativecomics.com. 3, 4, and 5 are on its way, and the links will be in the description later when I remember. Yeah, and in the comments and the questions, let me know. Start with some music so I can drown out the crickets from outside. All right, so when I was at the convention, actually there's quite a bit to talk about for the convention, so I got plenty of time. I will tell a very long, in-depth story. Usually I don't like those, so I do a 1-minute recap and then I move on. Usually my answer is fine, or it was pretty good. All right, first let's get set up here. So I have 3 sketch cards. This is one that I worked on actually at the convention because I didn't want to creep people out by staring at them the entire time. This is Azavro from issue 2, which again is available at returnofcomics.com, so check that out. I think he's pretty much done, but I just wanted to bring him out again just to make sure there's a little touch-up that I need to do for that, maybe a little bit of detail. And then for the drawing, I have one of the monks from the Great Library, which will be kind of fun to do. And then I have kind of a little spoofy satire of the Headless Horseman. And it's Horace with his head in his hand. So I thought that'd be really fun with Halloween right around the bend. So I think I'm going to actually use a brush. Yeah, I'm going to see how using a brush is. I'm not going to use a micron for this. Because I think what I'm going to probably do is color it with watercolor, which has worked out in the past, but it can be touchy. So, but I think it will really work with like the Sleepy Hollow sort of aesthetic, like really muted colors, like gray, brown palette. But first, I will have to ink it. Yeah, this is pretty fun. Although it did take me a little bit of time to figure out what the heck a horse looks like. People always make fun of, having to draw horses and cars and things like that. But until you need to do it, you really don't realize how different they are unless you've had to do that in the past. So, like I said, I'll probably try to color this with watercolor, potentially with Copics, but we'll see. If this one doesn't work out, I'm going to try it again, just because I really like the idea. It's kind of funny. Now, I also want to mention, just because I did this particular drawing with Horace without a head, does not answer the age-old question about Horace. Does he have a head, or is it a helmet? That's just for this particular spoof. So don't read too much into it. I just thought it was funny. And I had a lot of time to kill at the convention. 3 days, 3 very long days. Hey Mike, how's it going? I believe in you. It'll work out. Yeah, I mean, it'll get done. So I think as long as you move the goalpost to it getting done, which I do often, then I think it'll work out too. Yeah, I'm really in the sort of Halloween mood. So I'm probably going to do some other Halloween themed, like large illustrations, maybe some Poe, Follow the House of Usher, just some of my favorite stories. Mask of the Red Death would be fun to do, like a really detailed illustration of that. Not on these sketch cards, just in general. Hey, finishing is a skill of its own. It 100% is. That is not an overstatement. I have a graveyard of drawings, unfinished games I started to work on. I mean, you name it. Although I will say this, it's been kind of fun with the comic book because I've managed to incorporate some of those unfinished games, ideas, characters, into Horace, the world of Horace, or at minimum, the comic book. So that's really satisfying when you can take that thing that you started and abandon and then resurrect it. That's pretty cool. Like in issue 1, there's that Monster Beach Vacation, like, satirical game. That was a real game that I was working on for a while, but I just couldn't get it done. Yeah, so my overall experience with Baltimore, it was about 4.5-hour trip there with some like torrential rains, which was just not a fun drive. I was hoping for like just a nice, relaxing 4.5-hour drive. That did not happen. But we stayed at the Hilton just because I didn't know where the hell I was going or anything. I thought that'd be easiest since it was connected to the convention center. And that turned out pretty good. I mean, I'm glad we did the Hilton, although it was actually further than I thought. Even though it was connected, it was a trek to go all the way from the car and back to the convention center at the hall. It's like having a riff for a long time and finally find 100%. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's so satisfying. I've never ridden a horse. To be completely honest, they kind of freak me out. I know that's weird. People think that's weird, but I don't know. Something about them. I always feel if I get close to a horse, they're just going to chomp my fingers right off. I don't know why that is. So yeah, the convention was really cool. I got to meet some cool people in person. Mike and a few other people that I saw on Twitter that I actually got to meet in person, which was just great. I found a chunk of people that had never heard of Horace H. Hoover and was interested. So I was able to sell some books, issues 1 and 2. And it's interesting to get that personal reaction immediately, because whenever they would come up to the table and I would, I have like a little pitch prepared, but they didn't really seem too interested in it. Which I think is kind of good because I think the cover of the books, along with my banners and the posters, really kind of gave a good idea of what it was about. So I didn't say anything where they're like, oh, it's a occult detective. I didn't think it'd be that. They were just nodding along like, yeah, that's what it looks like. Their ankles are too small and their faces are too big. Horses. Yeah, I don't know. There's something funky about them. Not that I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to actually ride one. It was funny because my knowledge of horses is nothing, virtually nothing. And I'm like, okay, I need to Google a horse, on its hind legs. And I was like talking to my wife at the convention. I'm like, what is that called? Is that like popping a wheelie, but for a horse? But I couldn't think of the term to Google. She's like, I think it's rearing. I'm like, okay, yeah, that works. If not, popping a wheelie on a horse, I don't think that would have garnered the same sort of reference images. Oh, hey, John, how's it going? The Headless Hooverman. Yeah, he is the Headless Hooverman. Yeah. Again, I don't want people to think too much about this. This doesn't mean he doesn't have a head. It was just a fun little play that I thought would be cool for Halloween, but it doesn't mean that Horace doesn't have a head. It just means in this particular scenario, I thought it was funny. So yeah, drawing the horse was tough. I finally found what I needed, but man, they just have weird anatomy. Again, I'm not the first person to say that, but I'll never understand animals that they have reverse joints. Like a joint goes one way and then it goes the other way. It's weird. It freaks me out. Just stick with the joint. Just stick with one kind of joint. One way. That's it. Make my life easier. And it's like dogs' hind legs that go back and then forward. And I'm like, come on, man. How was the convention? How was Walt? Yeah, the convention was cool. It was long. There were some long days in there. I was in Artist Alley. The convention was huge, though. That was pretty cool. I'm not sure what I was expecting. My day job, I go to a lot of convention centers across the country and a few around the world. So I've been to many convention centers, but this was a big one for sure. I don't know how many vendors or whatever, but it was pretty cool. I don't think I saw everything. I just took a few laps around, a few booths here and there, but I absolutely missed stuff, no doubt. I saw Walt Simonson. I didn't talk to him. I saw Chris Claremont. I saw a line for him. I didn't get to really stop at anybody's table. At a certain point, I just didn't want to miss an opportunity if somebody stopped by my table, even though my wife is there and she's great at that kind of stuff. I don't know. I really wanted to make sure I got to talk to people that were interested in the book, even if they didn't buy it. But if they were interested enough to stop in and talk, I was really trying to be there for that. So as much as that sucked, I just I will make sure that I will just go to a regular convention and try to catch up with those guys that I've been stalking mentally for my whole life. It was cool to see, though. They did have lines at their tables. I never know what modern audiences, think of sort of the old crew. Sometimes people fall out of favor, which would suck, but it was definitely cool to see lots of people in line for them. Still getting the respect they deserve. Fabrizio is a knee traditionalist. I am. I'm just stick with one way. Come on. Did you have good interactions? Yeah, it was pretty cool. A few things that really stuck out were everybody was really shocked at the price, at how cheap it was. They're like, wait, 2 for $4 or whatever. They were really shocked at that. And that, in a lot of ways, was a selling point. You know, there were a few times where it was like, geez, I'll try it for $2, which was pretty cool. And I made sure I loaded up, you know, the bag with bookmarks and stickers and everything that I could, business cards, so they could find me on social media and things like that. But it was interesting. I know this going into it. I've known it since the beginning that Horace H. Hoover is niche of a niche, and I get that. I get that. People are going to walk right by my booth and go to the Spider-Man artist or whatever, and I'm okay with that. I don't plan on changing that. But sometimes you don't know kind of your market. Like, what kind of clothes do they wear? Like, are they young? Are they old? Male? Female? Like, what is the makeup of the people that are drawn to Horace H. Hoover? Assuming that my banner and all that marketing stuff was catching their eye, which I think looked pretty good. It definitely wasn't as big as some other people. Some other people had really tall, lots of stuff. Mine was definitely shorter, but I had some hopefully eye-catching material out there. Hey Ben, how's it going? Nice horse. I have mad respect for anyone that can draw a convincing horse. Dude, if you would have seen me struggle for 3 days at the convention drawing horses, you might lose quite a bit of respect, because, good Lord, I was drawing, I don't know, manatee, goat, giraffes. Is probably the best description I can come up with. Although it's funny, as soon as I realize I can't draw something well, I'm like, damn it, now I'm going to have to do like a deep dive into horses. And I definitely am going to have to work a horse into Horace H. Hoover story just so I can master it, or at least get better. John, you should have... Oh, I missed. You should have printed a helmet to wear. I have... That is on the docket of coming up with like a cosplay helmet. I have some like drawings that I think will work for a helmet, but it's tough. It's definitely going to be tough to like fabricate something like that. So that's going to have to happen later on for sure. But that's the plan. Yeah, to have a Horace H. Hoover cosplay walking around, I think that would be pretty crazy. I don't think people could ignore that for too long. Oh, hey, Dr. Mask, how's it going? Horses ain't easy. You were telling me. I wanted to do a scary Western comic, but no artist I talked to wanted to draw horses. Really? Listen, I don't want to draw a horse, but if that's what the subject matter calls for, draw a damn horse. Spend a week learning the horse anatomy, you'll be fine. That's how I look at it. But you really do need to do a deep dive into the anatomy. You can't fudge anything at all. Now, don't look too closely. This is a sketch card, so if there are any horse experts out there, just don't look too closely. Mike, the thing your banner does well, I think, is show things that indicate a series of stories versus action poses. Oh, that's cool. Thank you. Yeah, I definitely have like the little banner, which just has some language, like, alien worlds, cults, ghosts, things like that, which I hope give a pretty good picture of what to expect, along with the imagery, of course. I have the Mars printer. It's small. I would like to get Jupiter printer for helmets and stuff. Yeah, you can cut. I mean, you'd have to do a 12-part piece for a helmet like that. But there's some good FDM printers. That way you don't have to deal with the resin for something that large. I mean, you could do resin. I'm not saying you can't, but you would just have to take it in smaller chunks. But for a helmet, FDM is probably the way to go because it's probably a little more sturdy. Resin can get pretty fragile, but it depends. I think it'd have to be a combination of materials. I did do a diagram of how I would do a helmet somewhere. So maybe next year when I get a little bit of time. Yeah, this is 18. Oh geez, I don't know what time period Sleepy Hollow was. 20s. Oh man, somebody's gonna have to Google check me on that. So maybe it's 1820s artist rendition of a horse. Things are just a little different. Yeah, as far as the convention, I was really happy. It was technically, this is a longer story, but it's my first, I'll call it, real convention with a table. Right out of college, I kind of shared a table with somebody and we did a short story, but this is definitely my first real table with an actual comic. So that was pretty cool. I did actually purchase something. I didn't have a lot of time, but I did check out the original artwork section, and I bought a John Buscema Conan page, which is pretty beautiful. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I have another piece of John Buscema art, Conan. It's not sequential or anything as far as the 2 pages that I own, but they're just so beautiful. And every time I pass on stuff like that, it just skyrockets in value. So I couldn't pass on this one. I did look for a Sergio Aragonis Gru page because I have been looking for a Gru page forever. And they're just not out there, or at least I'm not finding them. There was a little sketch of that Sergio did, but no pages or anything like that. I think John's a Gru fan. I don't know if there's any other Gru fans out there, but man, I used to love that comic. Thick horses always look like they're frowning too. I don't know if that's just me. And maybe it's because the carrots remind me of fingers. So when they chomp like a whole carrot, it just reminds me of a finger. I was right next to Eric. Darn it, I'm blanking on his last name. This always happens when I get on stream. Really good illustrator. I gotta find his name now, just so I can. He's not on Twitter, but he is on Instagram. His name is Eric Muller. I'll post a link to his Instagram. Really good illustrator. I I sat next to him the whole time. He's a great guy. That was a lot of fun. As far as what I learned for next time, that is a good question. I wonder if smaller conventions are actually better for me. You know, when you have people that just have like a one-day ticket to a convention with Walt Simonson and Klaus Janson, I think it's just less likely for them to really take their time, go down every single aisle, check out everybody in Artist Alley. So maybe a smaller convention might be a better idea next time. Or in addition to, I should say. I have every Gru comic. I love Gru so much. If I had a page, I would just go nuts. I saw Claremont. I saw a line for him, but I didn't get a chance to stop. It really looked like it would be a chunk of time for me to be able to do that. And I was saying earlier, I just didn't want to miss the opportunity to talk to somebody that came to my table. Not that there was like a crowd, but I really wanted the opportunity to talk to whoever stopped at my table. My wife was there, but I just wanted to be available. So I didn't actually get to be a fan this particular time, but it was still cool seeing them. I mean, it was pretty trippy. I did not see Klaus, and I know some artists or some creators only show up certain times, but every time I walked by Klaus's table, just because I wanted to see him, I didn't see him at all. I saw Jay Lee more than a few times. He was at his table. Bendis, I saw. Granted, I might not recognize some of the guys, but I mean, I do recognize the greats, so to speak. I'm also of a mind to try a smaller convention next, Mike. Yeah, I think that might be pretty cool. Yeah. I just think that, like I said, if you only have a limit, or if you have a lot of time, but you don't have 400 booths to hit, you really might make your way down to Artist Alley and be a little more open. And whenever people saw that $2 price tag, I mean, that was a selling point without a doubt. If they were on the fence, once they realized how cheap the book was, they're like, geez, how can I pass this up? I'm like, I don't know. How can you pass it up? Dr. Mask, I love Sergio's mad stuff, but I never got into the group too much. Yeah, the mad stuff. I mean, I don't know what was first, to be honest, because I remember the mad stuff and then the Gru, and I don't even think in my head I put 2 and 2 together until much later. Something about the Gru stuff really, it doesn't really show in my work at all, I don't think, but I think some of the humor might come across. Maybe not, but still a huge fan of his art. And he looks like a wild character too, with a giant mustache. So this isn't too bad. It's working out. Yeah, I think with some watercolor washes, this will look pretty nice, actually. So I won't be able to do the washes now just because I want to make sure the ink's 100% dry before I put anything on top of it at all. Yeah, this is like doing the Sleepy Hollow horror stuff is just got me thinking of it ever since last year doing the Christmas Carol stuff. Just using the characters in this way is a lot of fun. And I think my brush is getting all junked up, so I think that's done. Dr. Mask watching Geronimo on my phone too. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Yeah, there are only so many conflicting hours that we can stream, so I usually catch them later on. Like when I'm not streaming, then I'll catch up on all the ones that I missed. So Baltimore was interesting. I was in Baltimore a long time ago, and it was not a great experience. I don't know if I mentioned this, so I apologize, but I think I saw a guy get killed in a public bathroom in Baltimore once, many, many years ago, or seriously injured, just at least. So that didn't happen this time. So I mean, as far as that's concerned, like that's a plus. Traffic wasn't too bad getting in and out. There was a Ravens game, I guess, on the way out. So that was a little tricky, but it would have been nice to explore a little bit of Baltimore, but I just didn't have a chance to. Way too tired. It was definitely comic oriented, without a doubt. They had some toys and some games, but the vast majority really, it was a lot of comics, which is really cool to see. I had somebody come by and ask about Terrificon in Connecticut, which sounded really cool too. So that's tentatively on the schedule for next year. I think I might get the dates wrong, but I think it's on the website somewhere. But yeah, that might be definitely on the schedule next year. I will be finishing those other illustrations that I had started, the Shadow over Innsmouth, the World War I guy. I'm just kind of mixing everything up. I want to make sure I get some Horace H. Hoover stuff in here. I will say this was funny to me. Whenever people come up, it came up to the booth. Some of them are like, "Oh, it's kind of weird," or I don't think of it as weird anymore. I guess I'm so used to Horace H. Hoover that it doesn't, like, I don't describe it as weird anymore. Just because I'm so used to it, which is kind of funny. Oh, that's right. I have to remind myself, yeah, it's a guy who wears a vacuum cleaner on his head. I have to keep that in mind. Dr. Mask, those Christmas Carol cards led to one of the greatest auction stories ever. I know. That was so cool. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. Can you not hear me? Something happened? John said, did the sound go off? Terrificon is awesome. It is in my every year con. Let me double check to make sure my audio is cool. Check. Looks like my audio is good. Okay, cool. Thank you, Dr. Mask. Oh, that's great that you go to Terrificon. Then I will probably see you there. It's always hard to schedule this far in advance with my work, but would really like to go. The gentleman, which I can't think of his name, who was like handing out cards for Terrificon, said that they were really trying to kind of weed out the non-comic book booths, like just non-comic book stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. I've only been to Connecticut. Have I been to Connecticut? New Haven. Years ago. But it was pretty cool. All right, I think this horse is done. Again, any horse experts out there, you will probably find something wrong, but it is a sketch card. So I'm going to let this dry and try some watercolor, see how that looks. I'll post it online. And then I might save it for the next Alterna auction, or maybe I'll throw it up on my site or Twitter if somebody wants it. Cool. I think that worked out. Oh, cool. Dr. Mass, Terrificon has some celebs, but it doesn't take over the show. Lots of comic creators. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, a mix is fine. I mean, there were a few celebrities at Baltimore, and that's cool. I have nothing against that at all. Like you said, as long as it doesn't overshadow it. Like, I want Chris Claremont to get, I want his lines to be long, and Simonson's, etc., etc. So I have this, the Horace Hedman. That didn't sound right. And if you put too much grayscale pen and ink, the wash might not work very well. So I have to stop myself. I'll just put a tiny little bit of detail in this cliff hill. Just sort of, I call it ambient noise, but texture. It doesn't have to be super accurate, but just has to show that it's something and not just a shape. So you gotta have some texture, some grass, some rocks. John. Big deal. You saw a guy get murdered in Baltimore. That's what happens in Baltimore. Don't like it? Don't go. Now that you mention it, I think that is on their license plate. So that is 100% my fault, John. You're right. So then I have one of the monks from the library. This I am going to keep. This is going to be... all right, I got to think about this. I would like to color this with Copics. So if I'm going to color it with Copics, I'm going to actually grab a chisel brush. I will be right back. Cool. Yeah, I'm going to try a chisel brush with this. That works best with Copic, usually for me. Dr. Mask, have you seen Patrick Parnell's adaptation of Sleepy Hollow? It's an illustrated book, not a comic. Pretty cool. I have not, but I love Sleepy Hollow. I love every adaptation. I love every movie version. The original short story is good. A lot doesn't really happen in the short story, but it's so beautifully written that I read it not every year, but I always pick it up just because it's so beautifully written. John, welcome to Baltimore. Watch a dude get murdered. What happens in Baltimore gets murdered. I think we should submit these to Baltimore. Come for the baseball. Stay at your own risk. Dan Pledge. Boob Dan Art. Hello, friends. Hello, Dan Plagle. Boob Dan Art. Welcome. I'm doing some sketch cards. This is what has happened so far. This is Horace H. Hoover as the Headless Horseman. I'm going to be doing some watercolors on that. I did this one at the convention at Baltimore. This is a character from issue 2, a demon, which we will learn more about in issue 3 and moving forward. Big, angry, 4-winged demon with chains and ropes and whatnot all over him. I really dig him. He's got these, I don't know what to call them, like bat wing hair things. But it's one of the most fun characters I've ever designed so far. One of the first people to get my name right. Excellent work, friend. Well, as someone with the name Fabrizio, I definitely appreciate attempting names. Growing up with the name Fabrizio, I was just telling this to Mike at the show. It was brutal. Every conversation was going into it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to say Fabrizio. They're going to say what? I'm going to say and we're going to have to go through this litany, this back and forth pre-scripted conversation on how to pronounce my name, where am I from, all this kind of and it just became like this. It was expected. What was going on? I'm going to get introduced to, my wife's family. It's the same thing. So I do appreciate at least attempting. So these monk dudes were pretty fun. Really fun to draw. Weird, like, head dress. And of course, 2 tongues. I mean, if one creepy tongue is fun to draw, why not 2? And this is also, you can see my very heavily influenced kiss here. I'm growing up drawing Gene Simmons about 1,000 times. I'm like, well, he's got to at least stick his tongue out. So, there's Gene Simmons' fault. Mike, God created Baltimore to train the faithful. You have a powerful last name. Welcome to Baltimore, Doc. Yeah, Baltimore was definitely interesting. I didn't get to it. It's pretty fun. And so these monks really go around smelling the books and organizing them by smell. And then occasionally they can't smell the book. You have to lick it to sort of get some smell. They got 2 tongues, and they have their eyes wrapped. They actually have a story, which we'll definitely get into. The library is not a centerpiece, but it's gonna come into play pretty often, and not just in a superficial kind of way. We'll learn the history of it, the making of it, you know. But mostly they come from the summer I worked in the library in college. This is what I this is what I did all day long. They would give me a little cart of books. Like, "Okay, Fabrizio, go put these back." I'd be like, "Okay," and I would just take this cart of books and spend it wasn't like an 8-hour day, it might have been like a 4-hour day or something, and I would just take my time going through old books, stacks of books, random floors. Uh, yeah, it was a blast. If I could've worked at the library full time, man, I would have done that. Occasionally smelling things. So this is really an autobiographical portrait. After I'm asking if you like third world countries, you live in Baltimore. Oh, have a good night, John. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate it. Yeah, the trip to Baltimore, like I had today off, thankfully, because I was beat. 4.5-hour drive. So definitely kind of recuperating from the convention. There are some Pittsburgh shows, some smaller ones. I think I might be able to go to. But I guess, you know, you have to submit, get accepted and whatnot, so I guess we'll see. Yeah, I'll probably finish these cards up. Maybe tomorrow. I'm streaming, you know, at least a couple times a week, so I guess it'll depend. If anybody has any recommendations for requests for, I don't know, like fun Halloween scenes, characters, stories, I'm doing some traditional Poe stuff like Follow the House of Usher, things like that. One of the a fun story is a girl walked up to the booth table and I'm like, "Oh, this is Horace H. Hoover. He's an occult detective." She's like, "Oh, I know. My friend is obsessed with this book." So she knew all about it, and she was from California. And that was pretty cool. You just never know. You never know the reach. You never know who. And it was cool because she said everybody here is just so nice. I'm like, yeah, that is the general rule. Um, I didn't meet anybody that I didn't think was really nice. Even the people running the convention, um, everybody was really cool. Definitely makes me want to do more if I can get off work and afford to travel all over the place. I was I was in a place where I couldn't really even get to conventions for so long as a fan. It'll be nice just to go as a fan again. And you know, Horace is again a niche of a niche, and that's cool. I get it. There was one shop owner that stopped in who wanted to carry Horace H to the store, so hopefully he follows up with Pete, and that works out. That would be cool. He's in Maryland, and I'm completely blanking on the name of the comic shop. Hey man, how's it going? It was great meeting you. And my surprise commissions at Baltimore. That was awesome though. When are you gonna do the other 2 cards for H.H. Hoover? I need to complete the set. I will definitely. That's in the queue. So I had started these 3 at the convention. So I wanted to make sure I finished these first, and then I'll start the other batch. But I will definitely finish those, even if we don't have an Alterna auction soon. I'll finish them and I'll post them. That way, whoever wants to finish their set, can. I don't want to keep people waiting on that kind of stuff. So I'll definitely finish them and post on Twitter. Yeah, Poe would be fun. I mean, so many good things. I don't want to just stick to Lovecraft. That's why I'm like, yeah, I like other stuff besides Lovecraft. So some Poe stuff would be so nice. I do want to see what a werewolf looks like in the HH world. That's interesting. I definitely love sort of the classic Universal monster characters, but I do like to twist them and distort them a little bit. Not to be insincere, but like Slurp is sort of. I mean, he's Nosferatu to me. I really draw Nosferatu, so I started with that, and I ended up with Slurp. So it morphs in a way. So it would be fun to start with the werewolf, see where that goes. You have to bring the alternate sketch card to the next one. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to do sketch cards. I wasn't. I just grabbed a stack. I'm like, this will keep me busy if there's nobody coming to the table. So next time I'll have a sign to actually do commissions. This was really just to gauge, reaction, to gauge how many comics I would potentially sell, so I know what to bring next time and how to adjust, really. So I'll definitely do all of the above. Hey, GJ, how's it going? Thanks for stopping in. Oh, I did get, GJ, I did get some more updates on the little resin model maker. He is currently painting them. So I have to double check. I think he said they would be finished being painted by this coming week, and then shipped, etc., etc. So they're definitely getting done, and they're on their way. I might actually post the painted pics on Twitter tomorrow or the day after. They look great. Thank you, GJ. Yeah, I wanted something simple, and this sort of top tagline looks like some posters that I was making. So I wanted to keep that design going, and just so people know, the backs have a little dialogue box for Horace H. Hoover. So he always says something unique. If I'm drawing this monk, Horace H. Hoover will say something. So I've been keeping that going, which is it's just a fun little extra thing. And then obviously the character, and then the lexical nomenclature area. So I might play around with the design, but I just got these to test them out to see how the paper works. So far it's pretty good though. Takes ink pretty well. Funny thing was they were having multiple conventions at the same time, and it was the American Psychiatric Society convention, something like that, in the Hilton. I'm like, oh, this is apropos. We have the comic book convention and mental illness convention for the overflow. It was really funny. The last day, there were people from the other conventions that popped in. There's definitely some overlap. I thought that was pretty cool. We're almost at an hour here, so I'm probably gonna day. It's looking pretty good. A few more minutes, and then I'll stop. But overall, great show, great meeting people in person. Definitely want to do more and see what happens. I think so far, if I do a Horace H. Hoover first Batman comic, that might be my best bet. In lieu of having a cosplayer these days would be incredible. Fabricating a helmet, it's actually pretty tricky, but I think it's doable. When I was first designing the Horace H. Hoover helmet, I wasn't thinking that this has to function like a real helmet, because someday somebody's going to have to wear it. So I have to think how to make it function. This music is so soothing to hear. I love it. Thanks, GJ. It is like it puts me in a trance where I'm starting to draw. What is your favorite tasting book from? When I first noticed book smells, and I know there's readers out there that also smell their books like me, but I mean, I will just stick my face in a book kind of thing. When I was pretty young, we didn't have a bookstore where I grew up, and I grew up sort of in the but there was a used bookstore that we had to drive to once my friend got his license, and we could go to this place. I found a used copy of 1984 from early 70s. It had a really early 70s design. Pages were very yellowed. It was really one of the first old books that had that really powerful smell when I opened it up, and it just sticks with you. And then after that, you want it to smell like that all the time. And then even obviously new books have a cool smell to them, but like an old used book, 30, 40 years old. Like I envy these monks. I mean, they're just going around smelling books. to you, Jay. Your inks are really amazing. I dig your previous ink stream. World War II gas mask. Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing those sort of traditional technical illustrations. Again, it's partly practice and partly you need to mix up the stuff that you're drawing, how you're drawing, materials that you're using. It's a way to make sure that you don't basically just do the same thing over and over. And what'll happen is I'll do these really technical illustrations for photo reference. And then when I go back to using a brush for Horace H. Hoover, it'll feel fresh and new, and it's just a way to keep moving instead of stagnating. And that doesn't mean I'm going to all of a sudden change the way I brush, but it's like driving a different car for a while and getting back to your car. Okay, this feels really comfortable. I had fun while I rented that Mustang. My Elantra is just fine. Mike, I bought some still sealed polybag 90s comics from eBay, and I'm only a little ashamed to say that I huffed a comic bag. Like a Ramon with popcorn. Yeah. Yeah. Ramones. We didn't talk punk. Now, admittedly, I'm not like a punk fan per se. There's a few punk bands I like, which I find that to be different. You know, I love the Ramones, but I don't know how many other. So I'm not a punk fan, but there are some I dig. I like the Ramones. I saw the Ramones many years ago, and they were a lot of fun. Saw them at where did I see them? It was in Pittsburgh. Ice Amphitheater. I don't remember the name of that. Yeah. Made some progress on these. These are looking pretty good. Almost like a little series, but not quite. I will color these for the most part. I think next stream and maybe pull out, some of those other illustrations. I'm just gonna make my way through them as we go into the Halloween season, doing some post stuff. But thanks everybody. I really appreciate you hanging in on a Monday night at 9:00. I think most of my favorite punk bands could arguably be classified as hardcore. Yeah, one of my favorite punk bands is Avail, and to me, Avail is like a little bit of a crossover. But I don't know what you think. But yeah, thanks everybody. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of the week. Hopefully, it is pleasant, and I will talk to you guys later.